Now, in the verse of Game of Thrones, dragons are seen as the pinnacle of a apex predator, the top dog of the top dogs in their verse, all right? A super predator, if you will. They don't care what they prey upon. Dragon on dragon is pretty casual, albeit they aren't known to really eat each other unless they gone savage or, well, they're the cannibal. Now, while these dragons are normally known to be the apex predators of the verse, with nothing really being able to kill them outside of another dragon, today we're going to put Caraxes, Meles, Moondancer, Sunfire, Sea Smoke, Vermax, Arax, Vermithor, and Vagar against one of the greatest hunters to have ever lived. And we're just going to see just how long do these predators just keep that title of being a super predator. And we're going to do it with none other than the greatest hunter to ever live, Van Helsing. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's talk about it. So, today, House of Dragons is being hunted down by Van Helsing in his werewolf form. So, a little bit of rules before we actually begin here. For starters, Van Helsing will be in his werewolf form, and, well, he'll be, having his human intelligence and his standard equipment. Albeit, he will not be needing that, in my opinion. I don't think it's really needed. They won't be able to pierce the hide of these dragons, so it is what it is here. So we'll be using the scaling from not only the movie but from the games as well here, and we won't really use his angelic scaling because apparently his true form was able to destroy the city of Jerusalem, which would have been a city level feat. So I mean, well, that would be equal to some of the higher up dragons here, kinda, but I'll explain that in a little bit here. And, well, yeah, he'll pretty much just have that. He'll have his full intelligence, and he'll have full creativity with the environment. So this is one of the few videos where we will count environmental usage as a factor here, because, again, it is important. Now for the location itself here. We are actually going to be using Isla Sorna. Now, you might say, you use that a lot. Yeah, but it's one of my favorite locations, so deal with it. All right? I mean, shoot. Y'all seen the Survivor videos. Y'all seen it in anything else. Isla Sorna is the perfect place to throw in random creatures without really having to count for human interference. And again, we will be having the full dinosaur population here, including the T-Rexes and the Spinosaurus. Keep in mind, there are 7 T-Rexes, and there was actually a Spinosaurus with, I think, only 2 children, maybe? So with that being said here, the dragons we are using, we're only going to be using the ones we see in House of Dragon. Vagar, all the way down to Arax, okay? So we won't have Meraxes, we won't have Balerion, as, again, those guys died in their prime, and it would be unfair. We will also be using Vermithor. I might not include Silverwing, because she doesn't do too much here, and she would honestly just be like, it would probably be very funny if Van Helsing just, like, claims her. But anyway, let's get into the scaling real quick here, and we'll just make this quick. So Van Helsing, believe it or not, is actually in the multi-city block range here, as he's able to kill Dracula. Dracula in his, I think it's like his archdemon form or something like that, was able to destroy Castle Frankenstein out of just his sheer rage. Okay, so him being able to do that, and then he was able to destroy Castle Van Helsing, or Castle Frankenstein, excuse me, which has multiple skyscraper level structures, or skyscraper like structures, which would again equate to city block for each skyscraper. And, well, yeah, I think you guys kind of get it. Multi-city block because of the design of the entire castle. So what about the dragons? Well, believe it or not, they scale to Drogon. Yeah, pretty interesting, right? Drogon, believe it or not here, would actually be in the multi-city block range as well, or pretty close to those town level ranges here. You see, dragons like Arax, Vermax, Moondancer, Cyrax, and Caraxes, and all the way to Meles would actually scale to this town level, or if not large town level, considering they are known to be kingdom destroyers. Now, dragons have always been compared to nukes in a way here, and that is important because, again, this means they should be able to wipe out a city, right? Well, that is if they reach a certain size, which is where we have to get into characters or creatures, excuse me, like Vermithor and Vagar. Now, while Vagar is past her prime, and yes, I understand some of you are going to ask this later, but I will address it. Vagar and Vermithor. Vermithor, believe it or not, is somewhat still in his prime, as it wasn't too long after, King Jaehaerys died. So he lived pretty well, in my opinion, and still looks pretty well. Now, you might say, well, you said Vagar was a kingdom destroyer, which will put it at city level. Yes, that is true. Vagar and Vermithor would definitely be city level, as they both scale to each other. However, the island level scaling does not belong to a current Vagar and Vermithor. Dragons do hit a certain point in the series where they do start to age and die. Vagar, when she was with Visenya, Meraxes, and Balerion, would be in that island level category because, again, this is when they were healthy. This is when they were the biggest dragons on Earth, only being rivaled by sea dragons like Naga and various others who were known to sink entire islands. However, Vagar is past her prime. But then you also have other dragons that are comparable to when she's old, like Caraxes, Melis, and I would even say Sea Smoke to a degree here. So with that being said here, this will be a gauntlet type fashion. These dragons will be wild and already used to Isla Sorna, and Vanhelsing is just sent there to clean them up the best he can here. And they'll just confiscate the eggs for later. So with that being said, let's just begin here. Also, remember, we'll also be counting environmental usage, and we'll also be doing day and night results here. So, yeah, let's talk about it. Aurochs, Vermax, and Moondancer, believe it or not, are the weakest of these dragons. Because, again, they are still young. It's very possible Moondancer is a bit bigger than them, or at least in the same size as Vermax to a degree here. But the thing is, though, Moondancer, and spoilers for the rest of the show here, is actually capable of taking on a dragon that is pretty close to the size of Drogon. That would be Sunfire. And she was actually able to damage Sunfire so much that his wounds would then fester and then he would die from them. So Moondancer is pretty fierce here. And keep in mind, Aurochs was able to burn Vagar, and Vermax is not too far behind, if not just on par with Aurochs there. And it's actually interesting because if these dragons were able to grow, they would have became menaces. Like, I could definitely see Aemon beating them in the sword fight, but dragon on dragon, nah. Yeah, Jaehaerys and Lucerys would have definitely been far better dragon riders than Aemon would ever be. Now, Vanhelsing does beat Aurochs and Vermax, in my opinion. He'd definitely be able to beat him during daytime as well, and would probably suffer a minor burn wound. However, Moondancer is the fiercest of the group, the more ferocious one. She's gonna give him hell. And I mean, the best way I could see him, like, maybe countering that, is him luring the Spinosaurus or any Tyrannosaur towards Moondancer, and have her fight him, weaken her or tire her out to a degree to where he can snatch her down like he did with Dracula, and pretty much just end her right then and there. Also, we're also going to be counting Syrax in this point here, because again, Syrax is one of the smaller dragons. Bigger than Moondancer and bigger than her children, Aurochs and Vermax. However, she is still one of the smaller dragons. And this is unfortunately due to her own lifestyle. You see, dragons actually can choose whether or not they want to be wild raised or not. Or halfway raised in the wild, or halfway raised in the pit. No, Syrax is spoiled. Like, she's just a spoiled queen. That's how she got her name. She likes to be served her food. Funny how that actually does reflect in dragons, doesn't it? And, well, with that being said here, Vanhelsing can actually beat these guys in the daytime. I would actually say the daytime is a bit high difficulty because, again, the dragons can see him and he'll have to plan an ambush accordingly. However, nighttime, it's really not going to matter. It's his environment, his element, so he's going to get this. And then, finally, for environmental usage, I think that would be a low difficulty. So let's move on to the big ones. Melis, Caraxes, and, believe it or not, Sea Smoke. Sea Smoke is here because he has way, way higher feats here to put him on par with Caraxes and Melee here. This is because during one of the few battles after Rhaenyra claims the throne, so again, spoilers ahead here, Sea Smoke fights a rogue Tessarian and a rogue Vermithor after their riders have died. Sea Smoke, believe it or not, grounds Vermithor with a roar. A roar to, you might say, well, he roared like right directly into him or right into his ear or whatever. Again, that still says a lot here. Because again, dragon roars are usually not that powerful. We've seen people get roared at by the dragons and just no effect at all. But then you have Caraxes and Melis, who scale to Vhagar. And again, this is Vhagar past her prime. Yes, Vhagar would still be a kingdom destroyer, a city leveler. All right. And again, this is because, her size, the amount of fire she has and stuff. There's a lot of factors into it. But again, that would still be Vhagar's attack potency. And the sheer fact that Caraxes and Sunfire can mess up dragons that are near the size of Drogon and have a lot more combat experience. Keep in mind that also plays into a factor the experience and battle prowess of the dragon. Because these dragons are no joke. These 3 dragons are very cunning. They're smarter than the other 4. I'm gonna say 3. And the thing is, though, Vhagar and Melis could have easily beaten Caraxes 1-on-1. Like, if Daemon didn't want to do that whole sacrificial thing, then yeah, I do think he would have been able to get Vhagar. However, Melis, legit power slammed Granny Vhagar here. And the funny part is we cannot count environmental usage. It's funny how that went out the window kind of quickly here. I didn't even expect that, in my opinion. But the sheer fact that Melis would dominate any creature that Van Helsing tries to lure towards her, like a Spinosaurus or the T-Rexes here. Same with Sea Smoke and Caraxes. This means Van Helsing would lose during the daytime and would probably lose badly. Now, this is where Van Helsing now has to switch strategies and definitely target them at nighttime. The best way I could see him doing this is via blood laws. Targeting them just at nighttime and just running them down, using his better senses, slashing at their limbs, definitely slashing at their wings and tearing through them, and just trying to avoid fire attacks here. And again, in all honesty, yeah, I could see him doing it and doing it high difficulty, considering it's the only option he has now. And again, against Caraxes, Melis, and Sea Smoke, you're probably going to want to sneak them at night instead. However, the last 2 is simply a, yeah, he's not beating Vermithor. He could possibly beat Vhagar. Okay, he could definitely beat Vhagar, in my opinion. And that's, again, extreme difficulty and requiring him to be there at nighttime. And this is because Vhagar is, again, old. She's past her prime. She's past her, she's a bit more, I'm not saying a bit more fragile, but she's got a lot more vulnerable areas because of, again, her throat pouch now. That means Van Helsing could theoretically could aim for Vhagar's throat and tear her at a massive area to where that causes, massive damage, wounds, so on and so forth, and causes blood loss. However, Vermithor is still in his prime. You probably say he might be nearing the end of it, but again, he is still there. And in all honesty, I don't see him beating Vermithor. Vermithor is likely quicker to, go on and fire, blast everything, while everyone's probably trying to assess the situation. Vermithor blasts first and then asks questions later. Probably the same as just any other dragon, so what am I saying here? But overall here, do I think Van Helsing can beat the dragons or hunt them down? Yes, I do think he can here. Now, what if we gave him the same equipment that dragon hunters use, or at least, people in the Game of Thrones were used to hunt down dragons, like Valyrian steel swords or, scorpion bolts and stuff like that, and we gave him his own, or basically we gave him a full access to the InGen compound. I can't believe I forgot to talk about the compound being his base of operations, but it is what it is here. Now, if we gave him that, he'd definitely clear. Okay, I definitely see him beating Vermithor. I definitely see him beating Vagar, Melis, Caraxes, and Sea Smoke because now he has a lot more equipment at his disposal. However, on the other hand, it does take a lot of people to coordinate in order just to take out one dragon. And keep in mind, you might say, well, the equipment took out Meraxes when she was in her prime. Yeah, but they had to aim for her eye, which was like the most vulnerable area. And this got lucky. Like they were shooting multiple at her and she was just like casually dodging and avoiding it. And it even is stated in the excuse me. It's even stated in the book that one of them bounced off or just like dropped immediately. So they aren't a guarantee if they hit like the most armored part of the dragon. But then again, that depends on how big the dragon is. So it's very possible, again, a Scorpion Bolt can do the trick, but they're not like a guaranteed GG's victory. So, well, while Vanhelsing could definitely claim a couple bodies here, he's not getting every dragon. I definitely think that if I gave him more equipment or gave him modern day equipment, then yeah, he would be able to bag and tag each and every dragon here. Modern technology is very powerful here, so he could very much capture or knock out a dragon here with a tank or, well, maybe something that's just more aligned to what he needs to take out these dragons. But that's going to be all for today, guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe, and share with your friends. And be sure to stick around till the end of the video to find out what's coming up next. Peace.